You know, I was trained in tourism, not in aviation. So, you know, we're trained to be warm and friendly and welcoming, but I'm not a speaker, I'm an introducer. And I'm only here to introduce Minister Pravin Gordhan. But having the platform doesn't mean I won't abuse the platform. You know, that's what politicians do. Let me just say, but I am not a politician, disclaimer. So, Minister Pravin Gordhan, welcome. Minister Patricia de Lille, and your counterpart from Brazil, Ana Lopez, welcome. How do you pronounce your surname? Oh, that's long. That's long. We are so delighted to have you here. So delighted. And of course, my former fellow member of Parliament, James Force, who is somewhere back there, who's the MMC for tourism. I'm not going to go through all of the protocols, etc. But you're all so welcome. And we're going to squeeze in Minister Pravin Gordhan a little bit early because he has to catch a flight back to Johannesburg. And so, unfortunately, he won't be here for your, what is going to be a riveting panel discussion. It better be. So, it's difficult for me, you know, to call Minister de Lille and Minister Gordhan ministers, because I've known them from long before they were ministers. And this minister, all she's doing is building on my success. No. I didn't mean to say that. She has a great advisor, of course, Margie Whitehouse, who's here. I mean, you can't really go wrong, Patricia. Really. So, all of you very welcome. So, I hardly need to introduce Minister Pravin Gordhan because we all know him. And so, if you want to know more about him, go to Wikipedia, but there's some mistakes in Wikipedia. If you want to know more about him, really more about him, read the autobiography about him and his life. But it's an unauthorized biography. Now that just says so much about Pravin, because he doesn't like it. Already now he's staring at me and glaring at me and saying you're talking for too long. He doesn't like anybody saying any good things about him. You know, he's a modest man. But read the biography if you get the opportunity. 1994, apart from the fact that, and I'm saying this to you, Anna, because you are, you know, quite new to our country, you don't know all of us. But the Minister of Public Enterprises played a critically important role in bringing democracy to our country. Before we even talk about 1994 and the post-1994 events, he played a critically important role. Firstly, in the struggle against apartheid, in underground work, in the formation of the the UDF, various civic organizations. He was a leadership figure, and activists today, strategically, Pravin Gordhan. Then 1994 happens. I go to Parliament. The minister. He is made the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee dealing with the first ever constitution. So while he was there, the constitution of the Republic of South Africa was approved by Parliament. The Commissioner of South African Revenue Services, the tax collecting body, you know. And 10 years he was there. And if anything was a magnificent turnaround, then it was South African Revenue Services. He changed this revenue service into a most successful revenue collecting service. So it was a huge achievement. But then came 2009, and he was appointed as the survived a term, and then, you know, something happened, and which brought the two of us together again. In 2017, the two of us were fired March the 30th. They call it the night of the long knives. The two of us were fired. We woke up in the morning and we were told, out, you're gone, brother, you're gone. That's what happens on our two politicians. Be careful, I'm just warning you. You think everything is okay and they're not. You know, so anyway, that was what is even more important is, having been the Minister of Finance, he then became the Minister of Local Government and Traditional Affairs, Cooperative Government, COGSA, whatever it stands for. And he was brought from there when a really unfortunate appointment was made of a Minister of Finance, which lasted for 4 days. And it was a disaster. And Pravin was brought back and said, listen, come and rescue us. And that's what Pravin is good at, rescuing situations, putting things back on track. Unfortunately for him. So we, in 2018, have I got my dates right? 2019, he was appointed as the Minister of Public Enterprises. Not unfortunately, but he was given a mission impossible. Very difficult mission, given the severe damage done to our state-owned companies during that unfortunate era of state capture. So, you know, it's been a rough ride because it's very easy. Have you heard of the sculptor Michelangelo? You've heard of him? He took years sculpting the David statue. You've heard of the David statue. You've heard of it. It's not in Sao Paulo, it's in Florence. It took a few minutes for some crazy person to destroy it. It takes years to build institutions, and it takes no time at all to destroy them. We are now in the process of rebuilding. So you're right, SAA is on this recovery path, and we're given excellent leadership by Pravin Gordhan, and we are proud, and I say this to my fellow, with the full support of my fellow board members. We proudly undertook to do this task because we knew we would be given full support by the Minister of Public Enterprises, and that is the case. So, Minister, come. It's your turn. It's your turn. Over to you.
The only thing you didn't mention when it came to 2016, 2017, I don't know why, is the name Gupta. Why did that escape you? Because they are the guys who, you know, benefited from all the destruction that we saw. But good evening to you, Molweni, as I would say in this part of the world, and thank you very much for the invitation to share this very important occasion with you. I must do my job properly, not like an ex-minister, you see. So I want to first acknowledge my colleague, the Minister of Tourism, Patricia de Lille, then the Honorable Vice Minister of Tourism from Brazil, and I'm going to get it right, Ana Carla Machado Lopez. To MEC James, welcome. I'm not sure if we greeted each other, but we'll do it from here. To all the different representatives of the tourism bodies who made this event successful, and will also ensure the success of this launch of this particular flight between South Africa and Brazil. To my comrade, colleague, friend, and fellow Fire Minister, Derek Hanekam, who is now the chair of the interim board. And they are a group of people with excellent integrity, who understand what they need to do, and he even keeps me in check as well. So it's a job that he does well. To Prof. Lamola and his and our SAA team, who've done an excellent piece of work. I didn't even know this yacht club existed, so thank you for the introduction. And I suppose Shahan is the man who's influencing you, but we'll get there. To members of parliament, members of the bureaucracy in South Africa, welcome to all of you. And of course, all the other guests that are here. SAA is in many ways, if you take our recent history, an instance of an entity rising from the ashes of state capture like a phoenix. Because a few years ago, we thought that having done all the damage that has been done to SAA, it wouldn't survive. And there were many who thought the best way to deal with the future of SAA is to liquidate it. Today, we're running with an SAA that's still alive, that has been brought out of ICU, that is expanding in a systematic, gradual, but nonetheless careful way, so that we can proudly say SAA is back on the scene. And there are many who are afraid of SAA's arrival, so to speak, both on the international side, but also within South Africa itself, because in the next year or two, you'll see a lot more SAA planes on the tarmac, and it won't only be full of blue and pink, but it will be full also with the SAA colors as well. I think if those of you that know a lot more about tourism and aviation than myself will admit that suddenly prices of tickets out of South Africa to elsewhere in the world have become quite expensive, that there might be some manipulation or management of the seats that are available, because they're always full for one reason or another. And so these international flights and transcontinental flights, like the one we are relaunching today, are going to be quite important for the South African consumer as well, because competition is supposed to bring prices down. But to reflect on just a little bit of the recent years, maybe the last 10 years or so, on how this institution was damaged. I want to quote Chief Justice Zondo. As you know, he chaired the Zondo Commission, and he says, state capture thrived because they were eventually, these entities were eventually run not in the interest of the people of South Africa for whom they were established, but in the interest of a select few who wielded power inside and outside of these entities. So, in that period of about 10 years, the government had to put in some 40 billion rands into SAA, and notwithstanding that by December 2019, to be more precise, the midnight of 5th of December 2019, because we were awake and wondering what the board of SAA would decide then, they had to decide to put SAA into business rescue. And then came the COVID pandemic, which closed not only South Africa's borders, but borders all over the world. And that began to impact globally the aviation industry as well. But notwithstanding state capture, notwithstanding the COVID pandemic, SAA is where it is today, and what we can see ahead of ourselves as part of the recovery of SAA is a tremendously bright future if we manage the current expansion properly, but also conclude the deal with the strategic equity partner that should be concluded either late this year or early next year. Our wishes for late this year as well. That will add a lot more muscle, a lot more money available to SAA to expand, and will multiply its capacity to take South Africans out of South Africa, but also bring tourists into South Africa from all parts of the world as it once did, but now in a financially sustainable way. So this flight to Sao Paulo, ladies and gentlemen, is an important event because it signifies an important gesture to all those who critically watch what we are doing with SAA at the moment. Because there are many naysayers around. There are many people in the industry and sometimes outside of the industry who wish it wouldn't work. But as Professor Mola said earlier on, we are South African. And South Africans are known, hopefully on Saturday as well. You know what's happening on Saturday. So on Saturday as well, we're known for our resilience. We're known for our sense of vision. We'll have our pitfalls every now and again. Being human, we'll make mistakes as well. And this time on Saturday, hopefully we're not going to win by 1 point. So SAA is also not going to win by one plane. It's going to become a success as we build it. So this is a sign that intercontinental flights, not only through code shares, but SAA in its own right, should be around the corner. Prof, you're getting the message. Sao Paulo is just a start. And we need to see how we can expand the network because, as I said earlier on, the beneficiary will be South Africans at the end of the day. But through this process of recovery, what we have been able to do is to firstly establish that there's no more money that's going to come from your taxes that is going to go into SAA like the 40 billion rands that went in over a 10-year period. SAA must survive on its own strength. It must survive on the capital that is actually provided by the strategic equity partner, and it must grow organically into whatever shape it's going to take into the future, but one that is certainly bigger than what we actually have in the present situation. The second point is that through the business rescue process, its balance sheet is not encumbered in any kind of way. All the, if you like, muck has been cleared out, and the state has taken responsibility for that. Some 10.5 billion rands has been spent, 2 billion of which is what was used in September 2021 to get the operations that we see currently getting off the ground. So the state contributed in some way in that particular regard. And those that lost their jobs through the business rescue process, the state also provided for very generous voluntary severance packages to those who wanted to take it, or retrenchment packages, so that each of the former employees of SAA had enough to survive on, had enough to look after their families, and had enough to actually start a different career if they wish to, or start a business if they wish to, which many have. But equally importantly, as has been pointed out, you say you now have a family of 2,000 people that are working within SAA. All of those jobs would have gone at the end of 2019. It took 3.5 years of very hard work, particularly in the department initially, to ensure that we steered this process, which is fairly unique, but also it's a signal to investor and the investment community in South Africa that reforms are possible in South Africa, that we can execute just with South African talent these very complex deals and complex reform processes in state-owned entities. At the moment today, there's lots of political clouds around the true nature of the crisis we faced, and as Mr. Hanekam said, the recovery path that we actually had to follow, and the successes that we are piling up. Although they're small, they're very important to signal to South Africans and to the investment community that structural reforms, and particularly reforms amongst the state-owned entities, are absolutely possible, and they can be successfully executed by South Africans, as is the case with SAA itself. So SAA is great as far as its own, if you like, internal dynamics are concerned, but our colleagues in SAA at a board level and at the management level and at the staff level are actually carrying a flag. And that flag is a signal to people outside of South Africa and in South Africa that you can have confidence in our country, that there's hope in this country, and you can make that hope a reality if you work hard enough and work with the right integrity. But we recognize human beings have this tendency to be greedy. They have a tendency to take shortcuts. They have a tendency to fill their pockets before they actually do their job. So whether it's here or elsewhere in the world, the same phenomenon applies as well. But if we have the right integrity amongst our leadership, then we'll make sure that these organizations move in the right direction. So to the Vice Minister from Brazil, we want to say thank you for hosting SAA on the other side. I was supposed to be on the flight, but he planned it in a way in which Professor Damola, personally, you see, that I'll be somewhere else at that time, so I couldn't be on the flight. But I had every intention of visiting Brazil, to make a short trip to Brasilia, meet some of your ministers as well, so that we consolidate the relationship we have between South Africa and Brazil, between President Ramaphosa and President Lula, for whom we have a very, very high regard, because he's done some remarkable things that have benefited the Brazilian population, and I'm sure we can learn from each other in that regard. So finally, congratulations to all those who've made this possible. Congratulations to the SAA team. You are flying not only in South Africa and on the African continent, but now across the Atlantic Ocean. And with that flight, you are sending important messages, as I pointed out, to various constituencies that we can do better in South Africa than we might be doing at the moment, but that we are, and hopefully we'll see it on Saturday as well. Is there any special flight to the rugby? They'll all subscribe to it at the right price. So I'm sure you'll join me, am I right? You must get a special flight going at the right price. It won't be free. And so that you can add to the voices that will be encouraging our team. But thank you very much for this opportunity, and have a good chawl, as they say, from where I come in Durban. So I'm a bit envious that this is a Cape Town, Sao Paulo flight. You know, I don't know where Durban features in all of this. But nonetheless, congratulations to everyone concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. You know, I was wondering why the lights are on, and now I realize the Minister's here. You know, we have lights. We should be happy, celebrate successes, right? Minister, you made very important points, especially when it comes to getting rid of dodgy people. We don't want any more delinquent directors, especially not at SAA or any of our SOEs. And I'm glad that you are able to get rid of the rot. And I know you've been doing it with much difficulty and resistance, but we're getting there. And this is proof, SAA is proof, that there is much hope for our SOEs. So well done to you, and a round of applause for the Minister. So this evening is about networking. There are people here who need to talk to each other so that we can make this route successful. SAA has given us the opportunity to fly between countries for pleasure and for business. You can start talking when I'm done talking. Yeah. And what we want is for people to network so that we can make this a successful route. It's an opportunity that should not be missed. When you guys entered, we played a video for you about the two countries, the diversity but also the magic and what we share as two nations. BRICS, right? B, S, first and last letters. There's no BS about this route. It's just opportunities. And that's what we're here to celebrate. So, we're going to go into an interval for 45 minutes. You can talk then, mingle, drink, because the alcohol's free. And give yourselves an opportunity to enjoy the moment and celebrate SAA. I want to do a cheers, but I'll do it afterwards, for all of the successes that we're seeing unfold in South Africa. We are a resilient nation. Whether we win or lose on Saturday, we know that as... Oh God. Okay, we're gonna win. I'm a realist, sorry. We're gonna win. Yeah, we're gonna win. Go Waka! What I'm saying, the point is that we are a resilient nation regardless of what happens, and I know that we can all come together to support our national carrier. That's our flag high in the sky. I hate that I have to travel to another country in another aircraft. You know, I want to be landing in another country with a South African flag on that wing. And I know that SAA is back there. I know I can land on an overnight flight in New York City. That's what I want to experience again. So we're going to play the video again. We're going to go into the interval. But before the interval, we're going to have drummers on here on stage to show us how we can merge these two beautiful cultures, Brazilian and South African. Watch the video and then you can head off and talk.
Discover the beauty, culture, and adventure of two incredible destinations on opposite ends of the globe. From the enchanting wilderness of South Africa's wildlife to the vibrant colors of its bustling markets and the breathtaking landscapes that stretch as far as the eye can see. To the rhythmic beats of samba dancers in the streets of Rio, the thrill of soccer on the beaches, and the mesmerizing secrets of the Amazon rainforest. And now, there's a seamless way to connect these two incredible destinations. Introducing the new way to explore South Africa and Brazil. South African Airways, your gateway to the world, now offers direct flights from Johannesburg and Cape Town to Sao Paulo. Enjoy the ultimate convenience of non-stop flights, bringing these two incredible destinations closer than ever before. From safaris to samba, culture to adventure, you can now journey effortlessly between South Africa and Brazil with South African Airways. Don't miss this chance to explore the magic of South Africa and the vibrancy of Brazil. Book your adventure today with South African Airways. Experience the world's wonders like never before. South African Airways, connecting South Africa and Brazil and connecting you to unforgettable memories. SAA, now flying direct from Johannesburg and Cape Town to Sao Paulo.
Yeah.